Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the Voice of College Football, our postgame show after Rutgers defeats Ohio 34-31 to start the season 1-0. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Gabriel Pickup. As always, if you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. So today we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about what was good about Rutgers' performance and what needs to be worked on. Gabe, why don't you start us off with your general impression of the game and of Rutgers' performance on offense and defense?
Yeah, so first quarter was a little iffy. I believe we were tied 7-all after the first quarter. That second quarter was amazing. Clearly, that was the best quarter of football so far in this early season. 24 points in a quarter, and then, granted, I know 7 of them were a quick scoop and score, but that tells me a lot about this offense. It tells me that we have some good dynamicism. Ethan looked amazing last night, 18 of 23, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the also important 0 interceptions. I was thrilled with Ethan. I was thrilled with this running game between Antoine Raymond, and you've called Antoine Raymond being a stud. 14 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown, including, I believe it was the 4th and short touchdown, 4th and 3, I believe.
Yeah.
And CJ Campbell looked great, 10 carries for 70 yards. I was thrilled with them splitting the carries. And even Ja'Shawn Benjamin, 3 carries, 17 yards. So on offense, great. Ian Strong, 7 catches, 100 yards. And then DT and KJ each got a touchdown and, several receptions and yards. But it's the defense. I mean, what were we worried about coming into the game? We were worried about Parker Navarro looking like Lamar Jackson, and that's exactly what he did. 239 yards, and he had 3 touchdown passes, which that's not what we were expecting. He had his 93 yards rushing and his touchdown rushing, which we expected, but yeah, 3 touchdown passes. This defense has a lot to work on, and you called it when you said you were worried about this defense during the spring game, and we were all brushing it off. I'll give you your credit there. You called it.
Well, what do they say? Every broken clock is right twice a day. So, there's a lot of good things to focus on, but there certainly are some concerning things. As you said, offense looked really dynamic and very consistent. Let's start with what I would say the MVP of the game is Ethan Kaliakmanis. Ethan, 18 out of 23 for 252 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. One of the things we talked about in previous shows was consistency in that completion percentage. Well, Ethan was fantastic yesterday. Not only was he consistent, but he read the defense very well, and he really brought balance and, a dynamic nature to that offense. The running game, I got to give credit to the coaches. You got 3 fantastic running backs in CJ, Antoine, and Ja'Shawn. They spread out the carries and utilized the strengths of each running back. Antoine Raymond, 14 carries, 88 yards for a 6.3 yards per carry average and a touchdown. And like you said, CJ Campbell, 10 rushes for 70 yards, and Ja'Shawn Benjamin, 3 for 17. Now, the receivers, we've talked a lot about the receivers and the depth in that receiving core. Well, they showed out yesterday. Ian Strong, 7 receptions for 100 yards and a 14.3 yards per reception average. And my favorite guy, DT Sheffield. DT with that long touchdown reception pass. Boy, is he quick and talented. 4 receptions, 85 yards, 21.2 yards per reception average with a touchdown. And how about KJ Duff? 5 receptions, 54 yards, 10.8 yards per reception average with 1 touchdown. But when you look at the offense, you say this is a legitimate Big Ten offense. I think the growth that Ethan showed yesterday was really impressive, and the way the coaches were able to spread out the carries and utilize the strength of those backs was good. Another, maybe it's overlooked, that offensive line was really, really opening up holes for those running backs and did a fantastic job.
I've been saying this whole offseason, the offensive line is the strength. And is it fair to call Duff, Strong, and Sheffield a big 3 in terms of the receiving core?
Yeah, I mean, what I saw from that receiving core yesterday was depth and no drop-off. Nope. So, I think that they complement each other because I think they bring different skill sets, and I think it's going to be a very potent offense.
Yeah.
Those are the good things. So, what are the things that need to be worked on? Well, the defense, of course. And Greg Schiano alluded to that in his press conference. And he said, look, I've been telling you guys all along it's a work in progress, and it will be a work in progress. Doesn't mean the defense is going to be weak all year, but it's got a lot of strides it needs to make. And one of those indicators is, look, you look at the total yards. Ohio, 440 total yards, with Parker Navarro looking like Joe Montana. And what's concerning is that Ohio had 239 passing yards and 201 rushing yards. So they were able to attack us both in the running and passing game. Another concerning statistic is a 7.1 yards per play average for Ohio. So clearly, what was very concerning last night was the defense. We've talked about how they got some great transfers in, but Schiano said in his press conference last night, a lot of these guys haven't played together. And there were 6 guys out there who hadn't played at all before this game. So it was a much of a concern. And I think the reason that you saw Schiano going for it on 4th down consistently, and they were 5 for 5 on 4th down, the reason I think he went for it on 4th and 7 was because he, or let's just say the reason he went 4th down throughout the game and on the last play to ice the game with the pass to DT is he didn't trust his defense. And I think looking at our schedule, we could be in for a rough season if this defense doesn't improve.
Yeah, I mean, this is Ohio. I respect Ohio. I mean, I've said it all off season because I've seen a lot of Scarlet Nation disrespecting Ohio. I believe that they were a formidable opponent going into the night, and they proved it. They had a lot of guys step up that we didn't expect to step up, such as their running back, Saye Bangura, who nobody projected to really be an impact player, even though he is their RB1. Their RB1 is more like Parker Navarro. And I said the key was containing Navarro to, around like 50-ish yards rushing. He had 93 on only 9 carries. And passing the ball, I mean, like before last season, none of the receivers had more than, I believe it was 24 receptions. And Chase Hendricks got more than a third of that last night. Chase Hendricks, 9 for 115. That concerns me. That concerns me about the secondary that we've been saying has possibly improved despite the loss of Longerbeam. And, I don't think it's all bad. There were some players such as Moses Walker that stepped up, 13 tackles, 5 solo, 2 tackles for loss. He had the penalty, and then immediately after he had the tackle for loss to negate the penalty. But there is one player that I kind of want to call out, and this isn't because I think he's bad. It's actually the opposite. We've been praising him all off season. Eric O'Neill, he had 3 tackles, only 1 solo, no sacks, no tackles for loss. And look, he is ranked number 80 or 83-ish in the top 100 for college football players coming into the season. You need to be that guy on defense. You need to be irrefutably the best player, arguably on both sides of the football, if you want to be in that conversation for NFL draft picks day 1, even day 2. That's what they want to see. They want to see against the guys like Ohio that you can be sort of, TJ Watt-esque, Myles Garrett-esque, Aaron Donald-esque against these guys. And also on offense, I wanted to get into this. And this could be nitpicky, but I'm going to argue it's not nitpicky since we only had 3 points in the second half. You need to get the ball to more than just, like I said earlier, our big 3, quote unquote, in Duff, Strong, and Sheffield. Colin Weber had 1 catch for 7 yards. Kenny Fletcher had 1 catch for 6 yards. That's not enough. And, CJ Campbell, who was also a hybrid back last year, he had 20-something catches, I believe. He had 0 catches last night, 0 targets. Jashawn Benjamin, in his limited time, had 0 targets. And there's more than just those few that, haven't gotten the ball. So I was a little disappointed in the spreading of the football. But, our top receivers did step up, and Ethan did step up. It's just something I'm looking for going forward because like I said, week 1 is going to tell us a lot. And Ohio is, you can say, a bottom 4, bottom 3 in terms of opponent difficulty. So it's something that definitely needs to improve.
Yeah, those are great points. And, when I look at both the offense and defense, to just dig a little deeper into it, the offense was clearly the strength of the team, obviously. And Ethan had a great game. But here's the thing: in the first half, the offense scores 31 points. The second half, it scores 3. So it goes back to this consistency, consistency, consistency. The defense. The defense actually started out fairly, they were fairly effective in the first quarter.
Yeah.
All right, they gave up 17 points in the first half. Not great, but serviceable. Then they give up 24 points in the second half. So it was like a tale of two halves. The offense was strong in the first half, but was stopped in the second half. The defense, I thought, struggled throughout. And it reminded me a little bit of last year, a similar pattern. If you look at the Kansas State game, and, we
Yeah,
were
I was thinking Kansas State the whole time.
Yeah, we're up, in the first half, and then in the second half, there's a collapse. Illinois. Okay, so it's like it seemed like there was improvement on the offense, but there was still plagued by a lack of consistency, and the defense honestly reminded me of the defense from last year, and that's a bit concerning given the transfer portal players we got. So when I look at this performance, I think, we got Oregon on the schedule, Penn State, at Washington, at Illinois, okay, at Ohio State. It concerns me that this season,
Minnesota.
yeah, at Minnesota and PJ Fleck, it concerns me that we might be looking at a 6-6 season.
I mean, based on how we played last night, there's only 3 other teams that we can expect to beat. Yeah, really 3. It's Miami of Ohio, Purdue, and Norfolk State. Those are the only 3 teams that how we played last night will get the job done. So unless we improve, that's 4-8 right there. But I don't think we're going to go 4-8. I think we will improve based on what Shiano has said, based on the fact that our offense improved. I've been saying all offseason how great I think Ethan's going to do, and he proved it. So I don't think we're going to go 4-8 by any means, but how we played last night would be a 4-8 season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason thanks so much for joining us. He says that Rutgers needs to find a way to work the running backs in the. I agree with that, and I also think he made a good comment about the defense struggling. But now, when it comes to the offense, there's a lot of great things to be said about it, but there's also, like he said, a ton to work on the offense. So I think it's not just the defense, but the team that's a work in progress, and they're going to have to get better after they face Miami and Norfolk State if they're going to have a chance to defeat a good Iowa team.
Yeah, I mean, look, we had good halves, good quarters defensively. Not good halves, I should say. We had 2 good quarters defensively. Quarter 1, we gave up the touchdown, and then we had 2 straight stops. And quarter 4, not allowing a point when we only put up 3 in the second half, that was huge. Don't get it twisted. The defense didn't show up for most of last night, but they are the reason in the fourth quarter that we won that football game, because our offense decided not to play up to their standard in the second half. And that was kind of scary because when we were up 31, because we were up 31 to 10, I believe, at one point, and I was thinking to myself, are we going to put up 60 points against these cats? Literally these cats. I was sort of saying that, and then we put up New York Jets numbers in the second half.
Yeah. This
one
goes
guy,
back. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
One guy I did want to shout out, though, is Jai Patel, because, he went 2 for 2, long of 26, 4 of 4 extra points. What's the big deal there? The big deal there is that he made his 14th consecutive field goal, breaking a program record. And that is amazing because we've been saying that the special teams, we're not sure how they'll perform. Well, based on the past few games of last season and, scoring your 14th consecutive field goal without a miss, Jai Patel, man, shout out to you because that's huge, especially for this year. If we end up needing 3 points in the fourth quarter and we get them, if we end up not knowing if 3 points in the second quarter will be the 3 points that win us the game, that did win us the game.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? One of the things we talked about, I think it was last week, what are the things that Rutgers needs to do this year to have a successful year? And of course, it's always good, like, Jason O said, to learn from a win and to start 1-0. But one of the things I mentioned was adjustments. How are we going to adjust at halftime? And what I saw yesterday was starting out strong, but then really Ohio almost dominating the game in the second half.
Yeah.
So they're making certain adjustments, and how are we responding to that? I thought that was concerning. I also thought, where was the pass rush? And I know we have a dual threat quarterback who's very elusive, but I didn't see enough of the kind of disruption of the quarterback that I would have liked to. Now there were some good moments, but again, if they want to be competitive in the Big Ten, they're going to have to get better, and I think they will. So this is not a time, in my opinion, to panic and to write off, the season. Of course,
I'm panicking. I don't know. I'm panicking.
Well, it's a moment to learn and say, look, we have to be consistent.
Yeah.
When you're playing like you're playing in the first half, that shows the potential you have. Well, you got to sustain that through all four quarters, and they didn't do that yesterday, and escaped with a 34-31 victory. If they didn't get that 4th and 7, and I give Coach Schiano credit for having the guts to do that, I think Ohio would have driven down the field, and we could have possibly come out with a 38-34 loss. So
no, it's true.
It's good that we won, but not great how we played.
No, and you were talking about the pass rush, how it was non-existent. I mean, we did lose Doug Blue Eli for the season, and that sucks. I mean, like I said, Jordan Walker, next man up mentality. He is very solid. He started all of last season. But there's a reason we got Doug Blue Eli. It's because we felt like we needed one more guy in the front four. And so losing him as defensive tackle, that does allow them to focus more on Eric O'Neill and more on the rest of the guys. And Jordan Walker, I believe he is still starter caliber. I'm hoping we see it against Miami of Ohio. You were talking about the second half. Do you think that we got too lax after we were up 31-10? Do you think we just sort of said like, oh, these guys are a piece of cake?
No, I don't think we got too lax. I think Ohio adjusted. And I think it showed that while the offense has great potential, they still struggle with being consistent. And if Ohio's going to do that to you, what's Ohio State going to do to you? That's what's concerning. And I just felt like, and Jason O alluded to it, he said the defense, he didn't like the defense and that they lost contain many times. I agree. I also felt like there was a lot of blown assignments. And it seemed like they just were not in sync on defense. So that's something that they're going to need to fix. But overall, what's concerning is that when I think of at Washington, at Illinois, Penn State, Oregon, at Ohio State, Iowa, at Minnesota, this performance will needs to get better. But again, and this is not to be overly critical of the Scarlet Knights. They played hard, they work hard, and we support them 100%. But this is not the kind of performance that's going to make the team competitive in the Big Ten.
No, it's concerning. I'm happy that we had a concerning win because I saw from my other teams like the Knicks, concerning wins can lead to big things. You'd rather learn in a win than have to learn in defeat. The mood changes entirely because if let's say against Miami of Ohio, who lost 17-0 to Wisconsin, let's say if we blow the brakes off of them next week, then we can laugh about week one. And it's kind of nice, right? Because, if we can go 3-0, which we should go 3-0 to start the year at minimum, then we can sort of look back at this and say this is the preseason in a way. And you don't really get a preseason in college football. So, looking at these formations against Ohio, seeing how we play against Miami of Ohio, who, they're not the worst team in football, but I think they're worse than Ohio. And Norfolk State, my goodness, if we don't beat them by 3 to 4 touchdowns, then it's a defeat in its own right. This is sort of a preseason, in my opinion. And I don't want this to come back and haunt me if we lose these next 2 weeks. But Scarlet Knights, I have faith in you, man. Let's try some things out. Let's see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Miami of Ohio. That 17-0 loss to Wisconsin made me think, okay, number one, Miami is not a bad team. Number two, this game was in Camp Randall, and they held Wisconsin to 17 points, which suggests to me Miami of Ohio has a legitimate defense. Now, I don't know about their offense, but if they held Wisconsin to 17, it's conceivable they could hold us, under 24. And given our struggles on defense, the matchup could signal that it's going to be another close game.
Yeah, it could be close. Like I said, this really should be these next few weeks should be the weeks of trying stuff out. Hopefully next week we see more tight end involvement. Hopefully we see more running back involvement in the passing game. It's the offense that I'm going to be looking at. The defense should, cross my fingers, it should stay intact next week against Miami of Ohio. I mean, this Ohio team that we faced yesterday, it was really coming into the night a one-man show, but credit to Navarro. He turned it into a three-man show between him, Bangura, and Hendricks. And Cam Miller, we've been talking about how good of an impact this is, or he is to the team. Cam Miller, he got, the fumble for the score. So he made his impact offensively, but defensively, he was definitely helping on the assignments against Hendricks. And Hendricks, 115 yards receiving, that's challenging.
Yeah, and what was concerning to me was Navarro's got 239 pass yards, and they rushed for over 200 yards. So the fact that they brought this offense, a MAC school, although they won the MAC championship last year, was really firing on all cylinders on offense throughout the game, except maybe for the first quarter. It's concerning because much respect to Ohio, but Ohio is not Ohio State. It's not Penn State.
Yeah.
And I think, when it comes to the offense, there were flashes of excellent play, but 3 points in the second half against an Ohio defense that really had a majority of, lost a majority of its starters last year. At the end of the day, it's a win, and a win is good. But when you look at the schedule ahead of us, they've got to get better, and I worry that the team just isn't there yet.
No,
and it's going to be, another season with some growing pains, unfortunately.
I think we were just playing not to lose in the second half, and you can't do that. You have to play exactly how you play in the first half if it works, and the moment it starts not working, you adjust. But they switched up and played not to lose instead of playing to sort of take this game in the third quarter, which you need to do against the pesky Ohio squad.
If they fell victim to that mentality, then that's even more concerning. It's the first game of the season. You're up 31-17 at the half. You come out in the second half, you make adjustments, and you put the game away. Instead, they almost gave the game away.
Yep.
So I think Coach Schiano's press conference was what really accurately portrayed what happened. He was happy that they got the win, but he's honest and recognizes they need to work on things. But, I don't want to be entirely negative because there were so many positive things like Ethan's performance, the running backs, the wide receivers. The defense did have a good first quarter. So, congratulations to the Scarlet Knights. And, we're going to continue supporting them 1,000% and behind them all the way. So, the players work hard, the coaches work hard. And so, there's positives to take away, and congratulations on a first win.
Yeah. Did you see the student section, what happened with them?
I was just going to say, congratulations also to the Scarlet Knights Students, oh my, they did a fantastic job, especially on that block punt.
Yeah, I was gonna say they caused too, like the I believe it was the 5 yard penalty too, because they were so loud that the Ohio couldn't hear themselves, caused the 5 yard penalty, changed the whole game.
Yeah. And Jason, I agree 100% with you. There were missed assignments and bad breakdowns on defense, and I think that was evident, especially in the second half. And they can be corrected because it's not a matter of us losing the physicality battle or us losing the talent battle. It's more of you know getting aligned properly, staying disciplined, and that is correctable.
I mean, yes, and that student section may have been the reason we won that game last night.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. It's like that's what we want to see, and we're going to need to see that when the Hawkeyes come in, because that game is going to really be an indicator of where this team is going. Right now, I don't think that we would beat Iowa.
No,
In 3 weeks, I think Coach Shiano, he's a great coach. He has a great staff. They're going to be ready, but it's going to come down to stuff we've talked about on prior shows, the little things, the intangibles, and hopefully they'll get everything cleaned up.
yeah, I mean Iowa, Illinois, Washington, Minnesota. We're gonna win some of these games. We don't
Right.
know how many. We don't know how many we'll lose, unfortunately. But the goal is 0 outside of the big 3 of opponents we face. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's we're gonna win some of these games. This isn't how it's gonna look all year. We're gonna get better.
Yeah. And Jason, yeah, so true about the students. And keep coming to the games and keep disrupting the opposition because, people underestimate how home field advantage sometimes can be the difference. Now, given everything we've talked about, Gabe, what are the 3 things? So we're going against a Miami team next week that,
Yeah.
look, held Wisconsin to 17 points at Wisconsin in Camp Randall. Didn't score any points, but next, when they face us, they're not going to be facing the Wisconsin defense. So with that good defense, Miami might challenge our offense and limit, our output. And if our defense doesn't improve, it could be one of those lower scoring tight games. What are the 3 things that you think we need to improve on for week 2 to come out with a victory and start the season 2-0?
Well, when it comes to the defense, I mean, we need to focus on sort of first off, we need to scout Miami of Ohio, see what they're best at, because this isn't like Ohio where it's just a one-man show and then it spills into a 2 or 3-man show. What we need to do is focus on who their best players are and really just lock in on them and make the guys who aren't the focus of their offense be the focus of their offense. Because last night we saw what can happen when you make the captain of the team or the star of the team be the offense. He can put up 31 points against you. So that's my number 1. My number 2 is we need to get the tight ends and running backs involved in the passing game because we had 3 guys show up offensively outside of Athan and the offensive line. And that was KJ Duff, Ian Strong, and DT Sheffield. They put up 17 catches for however many yards and 2 touchdowns. Great. But we need the ball to be spread more. And number 3, we cannot turn the ball over. We did not turn, or I'll say we cannot turn the ball over, and we need to get turnovers too, because against Ohio, you would think with a scrambling quarterback who's not a top tier quarterback, but a solid quarterback, you can force a fumble, you can get an interception against a receiving core that was completely unproven outside of Chase Hendricks last night. So we need to get turnovers, not 1 turnover, lucky on the fumble. And we need to get the offense more spread out and channel in on who the best players are.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, the 3 things I'd like to see them improve on is number 1, the pass rush, disrupting the quarterback more. Number 2, playing as a unit on defense. And that's one of the issues when you have transfers coming in. These these players haven't played together a lot, and
Yeah, that's true too.
in a way, that's good news because the more that they play together, the better they're going to get. So, second thing I'd like to see is cohesion, and the third thing I'd like to see is Ethan coming back with another game like he played against Ohio, and that kind of brings me to the shout outs or the awards for the players for yesterday's performance. Number one, Ethan Kalik-Manis. He had, in my opinion, one of his best games, if not best game, as a Scarlet Knight. He's
18
got
of 23. That's probably the best stat to you, right? Because you love, I mean, the completion percentage. That's way more than 53.
Yeah, and he just looked mature out there. He looked like a leader. He has a great arm. The future looks bright for Ethan. So, Ethan, great job last night. Hey, the running backs. Got to give it to all three of them. CJ, Antoine, Jashawn, all of you contributed and really, showed depth and versatility. And you can't forget the offensive line, of course. The holes they were opening up, I could have run through, and I'm 49 years old. I wouldn't have been able to get more than a couple of yards, but they were opening up huge holes.
Yeah.
And then, on the defensive side, what I would say is the defense did get some key stops when they needed to, and they did have some good moments in the first quarter. So I think the best approach is to learn from this experience, but also to be mindful of the positive things that happen and be proud of them.
Yeah, I think, we played not to lose in the second half, but we did manage the clock very well, and that was a huge key too. As soon as we saw that they were putting on that third quarter entourage, we decided to have the ball for most of the fourth quarter, which was extremely important.
Sure, I agree. So we are done with the first game, and we have it in the win column. But let's see what happens next week. The improvement from week 1 to week 2 is usually pretty substantial. And hopefully they are of the mindset that there were some good things yesterday, but that they need to improve and are going to really, focus on doing that. Any final thoughts, Gabe, before we end our first post-game show? And to remind the audience, we will be our post-game show going forward will always be immediately after the game.
Yes.
This was an exception for scheduling reasons, but we will from now on be after every game. Any final thoughts?
No final thoughts that we haven't said already. I mean, this Miami of Ohio squad, I think we should beat them by more than 3 points, but they're not impossible to lose to. So we need to make sure that we're ready for them. And we're going to break down Miami of Ohio Monday at 7:00, and we're going to be on every Monday at 7:00. And these are the more fun shows, right? Because you get to see the emotional side of us. This was 12 hours after the fact, so not as emotional, but usually like Miami of Ohio, no matter what, we're going to come on here. We're not going to have a thing in front of us, a script. We're going to be doing it raw, live, pause, and we're going to be ready no matter what the result is for you guys immediately after Miami of Ohio and also Mondays at 7:00.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot to shout out that wide receiving core, Ian Strong, KJ, and of course DT Sheffield. Great game last night, guys. Really, really impressive performances.
You know what? You guys can put on your tombstones, shouted out by Adam Lamparello when that day comes, because that is a huge shout out.
Absolutely. So we'll be on Monday at 7 p.m. to preview the Miami game, and we hope to see some students from that student section come into the show, and we hope to get Coach Shiano on the show at some point to talk about Rutgers and the upcoming game. Any final thoughts? I think, look, at the end of the day, we're 1-0, got a lot to improve on, but we're still 1-0. Let's keep moving forward, and as they say, keep chopping.
Chop, chop. Go Scarlet Knights.
All right. See y'all on Monday at 7 p.m.